And welcome back to After Further Review with Coach Heinz Northern for 2025. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good. Trying to get a few things done around the house and make sure I get some things done for my dad and try to enjoy some college football and with the playoffs going on and some NFL playoffs just getting started. So trying to do all that and make sure all the pipes stay covered and the fireplace stay full over here. My wife and daughter think anytime we get below 50 degrees, we got to have some type of fire or something. They got s'mores and all that going on. So, if you keep the wife and daughter happy,
yes,
you can stay happy a lot longer. My son, he pretty much one of them, it could be worse no matter what happened. It can be worse type of guy. So I don't have to deal with him too much.
I know that's right. Well, we got this college football playoff system working out and down to the Final Four, if you would. You got a favorite dog in the hunt?
Man, I'm not going to tell you quite the rules that we have for who you pulling for, but, I've met Coach Franklin on occasion when he was back at Vanderbilt and Kansas State, all those different places. So I pull for him a little bit more than I would anybody else. The Texas-Ohio State game, I think it's going to be exciting, but I think Ohio State is going to find a way to leave Texas in the dust, for lack of better terms. But I wouldn't care who wins out of the second, but I saw that if I had to pull for anybody, I'm going to say I'm pulling more for Penn State than anybody. But if Notre Dame win, having a Catholic background, it wouldn't bother me at all.
I do understand. Man, I love Penn State's uniform. That's why I'm pulling for them. That's crazy. I know it is, but it is what it is. It should be a good game. And I think, like you stated, Ohio State's just going to be a little too much for the Longhorns. But they'll play them out, and we'll talk about it later. We got some talking about, man, with what's going on in our world of HBCU content, man. A lot of new coaches. We heard from Prairie View's new coach at the press conference. We'll get to that in just a moment. But what's your assessment, man, of the latest hires and celebrity hires we might have?
Man, I think if Michael Vick can, I would say, B+ what Deion did at Jackson, the thing that's going to help Mike a little bit more than what I think is his connections to the area. So hopefully those business people that have been withholding their support or their dollars or whatever will say, look, we have one of ours in there now. Let's do more than what we've been doing. And for us, the HBCU community and alums, it's just like with the politics, man. We get easily led by celebrities. Now, people that hadn't been doing for whatever reason, I hope they come out the woodworks and say, let's do this for Mike, and then when he leaves, let's continue doing it so we can have the success like Jackson is having post Coach Sanders being there. So I think that, to me, was, I ain't going to say a no-brainer, but I think that's going to work out better than any of the quote-unquote other celebrity hires when you hire someone from the area that has some inroads. It's just a matter of him surrounding himself with coaches who, and I'm not saying he doesn't know X and O's, but coaches that can handle the day-to-day preparation while he go out and rub elbows with people. And I'll use Mac Brown as an example. So when I first started coaching at Prairie View, just about every spring we would go to watch Texas A&M, University of Houston, all these different places in the state of Texas, Baylor, practice. But when you went to watch Texas practice, Mac Brown very rarely was doing anything X's and O related. So he came over to talk to us, the coaches from Prairie View, and he was like, he introduced himself, he introduced who he was with, and it was two different people. Like, one was the CEO of some oil company, one was the CEO of some trucking company, and one was a guy that had just donated maybe to get their new weight room built. So the whole while practice was going on, he hobnobbing with business people that's giving money to the University of Texas. So if they can let Mike sort of handle that role of bringing in money to the program and somebody else pretty much doing the X's and O's, and all Mike have to do is decide to go for it on fourth down or, late in the ball game, or we going to run it or throw it, then I think that's going to work out by far better than what I think Deshaun Jackson is going to be able to do at Delaware State. So that's my opinion on that.
Okay, now a lot of people in the uproar about these celebrity hires saying no coaching experience, and I understand that point, but it's not like they just came off the street not understand the game of football.
Yeah, so this is what I tell my son and daughter, and I don't ever let them tell me about anything being fair since they were very little, because I always tell them life is not fair no matter how you cut it up. And I can look at, like I say, my own experience as far as working my way up the totem pole, and I may have been passed over for a promotion or not getting a certain look from, different schools, or I've been asked by one school to come in and, we want you to coordinate at Grambling, but we want you to come in and be the DB's coach, and sort of be thankful that we're giving you a chance to come coach at our institution. I don't, but, it's just the fairness part of it. I don't bring into it. Now, the other part of it that some people may say, just the experience part, like you said, it's not like these guys don't have any experience with football. They just have not coached. And like I say, you have seen it work. And like I say, and in my opinion, I worked for the original celebrity hire, which was Doug Williams, the Super Bowl MVP, when he went back to Grambling. But what a lot of people don't talk about, Doug had coached at Southern. He coached at the Naval Academy. He was an NFL scout. He coached high school ball. So, and he coached at Morehouse before he went to Grambling. So it's a lot of different things that you can throw into it, but just the fairness part, I just throw totally out the window and just try to say, okay, what is it going to be? And some people say, well, you losing with guys that have grinded their way to the top. Why not just take a shot at a guy that can probably get in a few more doors and bring in more talent? Then if you bring in more talent, you'll win more conference and non-conference games. So I think that's the end goal for everybody.
Right. Well, whatever the case may be, they all were hired for one thing, and that's to be a agent of change at their respective institutions. And speaking of an agent of change, per review, Tremaine Jackson had his press conference. He's been on his, as you say, his tour, talk show tour. And when you hear him, if you've never heard him, you're like, wow, not bad. You listen, strong conviction, strong vocabulary, and strong actions, if you would. Now it's going to be a matter of putting it all together. In the early stages, hey, it's good to say, hey, sound like we got the one we got. He's done it before. He's proven it before. But I'm going to say Missouri in me, the show me Missouri, is still a bit of wait and see. And I know to some, they may hear this and say, that sounds like a hater. It's not a hater. It's just an observer, because I know what he can do, but what will PV Nation do and respond to help him continue what he's already done in the past?
And that's one of the biggest things that I thought in terms of Coach Jackson. I've been knowing Coach Jackson for a while, and what they say, you sort of get everything. I actually interviewed Coach Jackson to be my defensive coordinator one year when I was the head football coach at Prairie View. But I didn't pull the trigger. I think I hired a guy that was from Texas A&M that I knew a little bit better than Coach Jackson. But at the end of the day, it's like you said, I think that if he can get everyone on board to support his plan, because I look at it like this: if a guy has done it at multiple places and he don't do it at your place, it might be something wrong with you. Because if they don't bring in, like, it's a new day of college football where you got to have money to support the program. You pretty much, in the day of the transfer portal, you have to have almost I would say 75 to 80% of your team in summer school. Whereas a few years back, you might have 40 to 50% of your team, I'm going to say at a school like Prairie View, in summer school, or you pretty much need to have them at both summer sessions instead of just the second summer session, which is traditionally what a lot of the HBCUs have done. You know, you lose guys for 6 weeks, so there's 6 weeks that they may not be able to have access to the weight room or, you know, good coaching or running and different things like that. So hopefully the fans or supporters will get on board and say, Coach, here's how I can support your program, and I'm going to let you do it your way, not, Coach, I'm going to give you $1,000 or $5,000 and then try to make it seem like they give you millions of dollars and tell you what to do with the program. That's what happens. And I've talked to different coaches like, man, I had somebody give me $5,000, but they wanted me to give their nephew a scholarship that's worth $25,000 a year. So it's different things like that behind the scenes that go on. But I really do think that they made the right move. I really do think he is going to do a good job if the Panthers come out and give and support without strings attached. And like I say, I put everything out on Front Street. I have talked to quite a few guys that played for me, and told them, and they are supporters of the university. I told them, look, man, y'all get behind this guy. Don't be mad, because if he has nobody with ties to Prairie View on the staff, that's fine. But that's still your school. Make sure you support it, and make sure you support him, even if he don't sign your cousin, your nephew, the kid down the street that you go to Bible study with. Just, hey, here, Coach, here go the money, and we're going to sit back and support you and support. I tell guys this, go to more than homecoming, go to more than the Labor Day Classic, and go to more than the State Fair Classic. You know, even if you buy season tickets and don't go to the games, do that as opposed to only buying 2 tickets or 3 tickets. That money is still going to be in the football account if you go to those games or not. So make sure you do that and support the program no matter who the coach is.
Right. Now, I'm going back to the press conference. You hear a lot of Q&A about the recruiting of Texas, and sometimes it gets to the point where it sounds a bit delusional from my perspective. And when I say that, of course you're going to recruit Texas, but I say it's always been a two-way street. The ones you're recruiting in Texas, A, got to be worth making an impact at your program, and then B, you have to want to be at your program. So it might not be everybody that you think should be in Texas, or because a kid went to another SWAC school or PWI school that Prairie View didn't recruit that person. It's not that they didn't recruit them. You know, they showed interest. They didn't show interest back. You got to continue to fill your slots on your roster. And it's going to require, because trust me, it's easier to sell Texas outside of Texas than it is in Texas. But I think people become a bit disillusioned when it comes to that aspect. It's not like it was 40 years ago.
Well, one of the things that's changed, too, if you think about it, a lot of times back in the day, and I'll use just particularly the HBCUs, a lot of times the HBCU PE and football coaches, you know, at most of the black schools, inner city schools, were graduates of Southern Grambling, Texas Southern Prairie View. So they had a lot of influence over those kids. Then what some of the other schools started doing, say, well, let's hire the quote-unquote best out of their community and get them to bring some more to us. So now you don't have those inroads. And then to some guys, and I've had an argument with one of my teammates at Southern that's a high school coach in Baton Rouge about, like, man, you have a lot of guys that go play at certain schools. You know, it's almost like, why many of them are not going to Southern? He said, well, some of them just want to get out of Baton Rouge. And, you know, it's different things that come into it like that, where you sort of don't get the guys that everybody is going after, but you have to make sure you get the ones that you want. The other thing is, a lot of people talk about recruiting locally and how that is going to affect the attendance at games. And I use myself as an example. I went to school on Southern campus for 3 years, but I graduated from a high school that's 5 minutes from Southern University. My mom has, I want to say 8, I'm going to just say 8 sisters and brothers. My dad has 9. Well, the whole time I was playing at Southern University, my family never bought a ticket to a game. So I would get, back then there was 2 or 4 tickets a game. The only way my parents came to, or family came to the game was if they got those 2 or 4 tickets. They would buy tickets to the Bayou Classic, but they never bought a ticket to a Southern University home game. So it's different things like that. When people say, oh, we would get more, if you brought more kids in from Hempstead, I don't believe that to be true. And Coach even mentioned it, that the attendance, those kids only get 4 tickets a game now. So you signing a kid from Hempstead is not going to boost your attendance greatly. But, yeah, I think that. But the biggest thing with recruiting is, if you are, just say, a guy that lives in Waller County and you go watch Waller County play, just say 7 games out of the season, you are going to see a kid play that you think is no way that kid can't go play at Prairie View. But you don't know, just say every coach at Prairie View is probably looking at, I'm going to say, to start off 300 kids, and then they'll narrow that 300 down to 150, and then by the end of the year, they're going to be looking at 60 kids strong. But you only seeing those 2 to 5 that's in Waller County, so you don't know what else they're looking at. The other thing about Texas football that people don't see, a lot of times the Texas high school football recruits are at their best when they're in 12th grade. They're not going to develop more once they get to your college campus, because they've been in the system from 7th grade, where sometimes kids from certain areas, they're going to develop more once they get to you, because they're eating on a regular basis, they lifting on a regular basis, they're not playing 3 or 4 sports. Now they only can concentrate on one. So their recruiting part is the lifeline of the program, but it's the toughest part to get. And then you see how schools miss on a 5-star kid, or you have a 2-star kid that comes in and that joker competitive, is all outdoors, and he is happy for the chance to play football when he not sharing a room with his 3 brothers and might have a little sister in the same room. So all that type of stuff goes into trying to fill out a roster and having a good program, the support and the recruiting.
No doubt. And when you look at all these factors that weigh in, and like you said, you get a kid, they put a lot of emphasis on these stars. And I get it, because you got to have some type of grading system. I want football players. I wouldn't care if he was a half a star or 10 stars. Can he play football with an understanding? Can he play football with heart? And can he play football without complaining? That's what I'm looking for.
Let me tell you something about the star system. So we can use the guy that just won the Heisman Trophy in Travis Hunter. So all into his senior year, Travis Hunter was the number 1 recruit in the country on most recruiting services. You know, when that joker committed to Jackson State, his ranking changed. So you're dealing with things like that. So a lot of times they would go by who's recruiting the kid, who the kid committed to, and all that type of stuff can change you from a 3-star to a 5-star. If you have a 3-star kid and all of a sudden Texas, OU, Texas A&M, LSU start recruiting the kid, that kid goes from a 3-star to a 5-star and ain't played a down of football. So a lot of it is based off of who is recruiting you, not let's put in the film and is this joker better than this joker. That's what I go by. I don't care about that, because I have been, as a high school coach, in an all-district meeting and seen guys talk about, well, if you vote for my guy, I vote for your guy, and all that kind of stuff. So I never got caught up on who is recruiting the kid and what is his ranking. It's all about, can that kid come and play football at Grambling, Texas Southern, Prairie View, wherever I was coaching at the time. Can he fit in from a academic standpoint at some of the schools, and can he fit in from an athletic standpoint at other schools?
Right. We're talking with Coach Heiss Northern, football expert guru here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network on After Further Review. We know that the 2 largest elements that has impacted college athletics, but more importantly on the football side of things, is the transfer portal and the NIL. And we know it's not designed for the little folk in mind. How do we counter that, Coach? I know we got to have some NIL. But our NIL is nowhere on the same surface as the big boys' NIL. And the transfer portal is a transfer portal. Basically, I look at that as a free agency portal waiting to who's going to offer them the next big bag. And half of these guys in that portal got jacked up attitudes, not really that good as they think they are, and just waiting for the highest bidder.
Yeah, that's true. That makes it tough on the coach, and it was already tough on the HBCU coaches, in my opinion, because you got to deal with the high school coaches who, for whatever reason, think it's better for me as a high school coach to have a kid at Stephen F. Austin or Sam Houston than it does at Prairie View or Texas Southern. So you have to deal with that part. The other part is, so I was talking to a coach, and he said he had a kid that was going to a school, and they gave him the kid a stipend. Well, basically what the school was doing was taking their cost of living and their Pell Grant check and giving it to them on a monthly basis, whereas at some of the schools, you get that stipend. As soon as all of your school fees are paid, you would get all of that money in a lump sum payment, maybe the second or 12th day of classes. But they had fooled the kids into thinking, hey, man, we paying our players over here. So, you got different things like that goes on too. But we are way behind when it comes to the NIL part, because I think at some schools we think, why would I give my money to a kid that's not going to be there next year? But I think we have to get involved in the cost of living side and making sure at a minimum that our football players get all of their Pell Grant money. And that is a good bit of money for your student athletes. So we have to get involved some kind of way with that. The portal part, it's just something you're going to have to deal with and try to do the best you can to keep your kids available. But it's almost like you have to hope your kids don't do too well as a freshman or sophomore, because the thing is going to be, can I keep them from somebody that's offering them X amount of dollars? And that's going to be the toughest part. Is a kid may want to stay in school at a Prairie View or Grambling, but if somebody's offering them $50,000 and you offer them $10,000, like, hey, why not take that chance? And then some of them will think, I'll just go there for a year and take $50,000. If things don't work out, I can always go back to either where I came from or another SWAC school. So it's guys thinking year to year as opposed to, I want to go and get a degree in 4 years.
Well, and with that being said, to me that becomes counterproductive, because now, and once again, I know I'm sounding like this old grumpy man, and I'm not a grumpy man, Coach, but it's just a reality. The loyalty and commitment is now lacking. So therefore, you're going to kind of like halfway put in, and if I show you a little change, then you get pumped up and motivated to do. That's just like the player who don't want to practice all week, but then come game day, he think he can turn on the light switch. And that's not the way it goes. So when we're looking at the big picture of things, and say, for example, you went to Southern, I went to Prairie View, okay, and this is no lie, Cato would say, hey, man, you at the wrong place, friends. You need to come on over here with us. Well, Southern was winning consistently, okay, but my commitment was to Prairie View. My friends, my culture, my lifestyle was at Prairie View. So I felt that commitment, if you would, and commitment is out the window today, man.
Yes, definitely. And, a lot of times, Coach, you'll hear a coach say, talking about if a kid is committed, are we committed or are we still dating other people? So, because you could say, okay, you commit, and I would be guilty of this because I wouldn't let anybody do this to my son. I would say you can commit to us and still take other visits, but I want to have a great understanding. Now, if you are committed to us and you take that visit, then there's a good chance we're going to offer somebody else at that same spot. And if that other kid takes that offer and doesn't take any other visit, then he's going to jump you on our board. So it's different things like that, committed versus dating and all that kind of stuff. So, and you see that, man, it's hard for guys to be committed, and then you look at it, you see it on the high school level. Kids have gone to 3 and 4 high schools, or follow the coach around the high school, or follow the coach around the collegiate level, or like you say, follow the bag around. So the commitment to a university is not there. The commitment is to themselves and to the green, as they say, the bag, as they say now.
Right. And so, like I said, it weakens the product, if you would, and i.e., we have these I guess social challenges here, because even though we're talking about money, it still bleeds over into the social, and so it all kind of balances itself out. And we say what you don't get out in the wash, you get out in the rinse. And so, and I think you talked about the cost of living, but there's also this Austin pay that a lot of the fan base is not really familiar with. We have, I think, and when I say we, I'm talking about the small guys, we have a greater impact on those two avenues than to be totally sold out to trying to create these NIL deals.
Yeah, well, I'm not very familiar with the other program that you're talking about, but, at the end of the day, coaches going to have to try to, it's almost like you have to have a person on your staff that deals with that and almost only that. So you're here now. College football teams have general managers, as opposed to a assistant head coach or a the football operations person has now become the general manager, and they deal with some of the NIL stuff, some of the payment programs for your student athletes and different things like that. So,
that's a whole other beast there, man. Yeah. That's on our level. That's a whole other beast. We ain't going to go down there because, heck, it's my show. I can say what I want to say, can't I? Look here. Part of our challenge is our administrators. Some of them don't even have a clue on what they really should be doing.
Yeah,
our administrators.
And let me tell you one of the other things. So just say you can look across the board at any HBCU when you talk about the administration and the people behind the scenes. And I tell people the two most important hires, more than the football coach or the coordinators, is the strength coach and the trainer and the academic advisor. I say 3. But 2 of those 3 are going to be more important than your offensive and defensive coordinator. The other thing you have to look at, I think I would look at, is, just say Prairie View, for example, since it's a Prairie View show. How many people that deal with anything in athletics or the administration have been anywhere else to see how things are done, good or bad, at different places? So that's one thing. It's good to take care of your own, but at the same time, this is what Coach Richardson told me. This is how I end up going coach at Morehouse. He's like, look, man, I want you to come and work for me, but if all you know is Southern football, then we just going to keep repeating the same process. You need to go and learn how somebody else does it. And I think that's one thing we get caught up with at HBCUs is not necessarily, you don't have to go outside, at least go to a couple different places in HBCU football, because some of us, we just love HBCU. I could care less if I ever work at a PWI, but at the same time, I have been different places and seen how different things are done, and I can bring the way different things are done to this campus. I think that's a good thing of hiring Coach Jackson, because he has been in a different world and say, hey, when I was here, and here, outside of this world, this is how we did things. And then hopefully the people that have never done anything different will say, hey, I agree with Coach Jackson. Let's try to do it this way. If it worked there and they got to the national championship game, let's try to see if we can do it here and get to the Celebration Bowl or the FCS playoffs. And that's my thought process on it.
Well, and now that you brought that back, and this brought back to my mind, I have a concern, I guess. I don't know financially if we were more committed than where Coach Jackson has originally come from. I don't know.
Yeah, and that may be a problem too. So those are the things that he can say, Panther fans, if you really want to have this good program that you say you want, this is the way we have to do it. And Either you're going to do it or you're going to get the same product that you've been getting because you've been, getting by the skin of your teeth, as they say. But if you really want to excel, then this is what we're going to need. And not just the Panther fans, the business up and down 290. The business going past Prairie View up towards Blinn and all that, the outsiders that really don't have anything to do with it, how can you pull those in to supplement either what you're doing or not doing? So that's why I say the university may not have to commit, but if they say, Coach, AD Golf and Coach, hey, let's ride up and come meet these business people. And I think Coach is going to be good at that because when you hear him talk, you hear a guy talk with conviction. And I think a lot of times, and like I say, this is what I tell my kids sometimes, when we go places, we might not necessarily be or belong where we're going, but we're going to walk like we belong. And if you walk like you belong, then people tend to either leave you alone or help you get to where you want to go. Right. So I think if they help him get to where he wants to go, even though somebody may have never been there before from Prairie View, they may say, okay, hey, man, I like the way Coach talk. I like the way he sounds. Let's see what can we do. Now, it might not be on the A&M level, but it'll be on the level that'll help your program.
But you got to get a start somewhere, right?
Yes, sir.
Shade
yes,
from
sir.
a toothpick beats nothing at all when you're in the desert. So
yeah.
when you look at this thing, and that's been my open criticism about coaches and administrators for a long time now. We are so enamored with what's going on in Houston that you're jumping over all of this money.
Yes.
And by the time you come back, well, who are you? Why are you coming to me now when you had every opportunity? And I don't care if you can send the invite and send the invite until they tell you no. You keep sending those invites. You keep knocking at those doors, showing up at these meetings. That's how you cultivate and change things, because I'll never forget, there was a guy, local business owner, he was looking to get rid of $25,000 before the end of the year for tax purposes. Those, man, do you know how many nuggets are like that just floating around that they say you have not because you ask not? And they think, I'm fussing. No, I'm not fussing. I'm just telling reality. I've been as an independent broadcaster for quite some time now. And, Coach, you've seen me operate. And a show ain't surviving off of Prairie View A&M supporting me. That's the truth. Okay, and y'all can take that how you want it, but it is what it is. Don't change my motives and my love. But the reality is the support is out there if we go out there and get it.
Yes, and that's the biggest part of it. And you think about, so I moved out here, I want to say in 2005 to coach at Prairie View, and just the way the landscape has changed from Fairfield to the campus of Prairie View, and then don't talk about the landscape from Prairie View to Brenham, how that has changed. So you have all those businesses up and down there that you can look into, and the other thing is, find out maybe who from Prairie View is in upper management, or you can go to, the parking lot and almost look around and say, okay, I see this guy with a Prairie View tag on. Let me see if I can get a word in with him. Or when you walk through the building with your Prairie View shirt on and you make that connection. I always go back to when I used to go recruiting in Dallas and walk down the hallway with the Prairie View shirt on. And then you hear somebody say, who you rooting for? Just a PV or PV? All that type of stuff like that is a good way to make connections to bringing more people on your campus and different things. So you might have to throw them a free ticket to a basketball or football game, but just getting them on campus to see. And then the other part is getting them on campus to see how nice the campus is if they have not been there either in a while or some of the outside people that have never been there, pass up and down past Prairie View and don't realize how nice it is once they get on campus.
Coach, I had a few young people that we were training for broadcasting over the years in the area that never in their lives been on the campus of Prairie View until we brought them to a game, whether it was football, basketball. They were so overwhelmed You know what they did? They ran straight to the bookstore and bought $300-400 worth of stuff.
Yes.
You know, and they're like, man, I didn't know this was that and that was this. And it's almost like having that family member that you're ashamed of.
Yeah.
You know, you keep them in the back room until company's gone. We got to get out of that mentality, man. We got to get out of that mentality.
Yeah, it's a lot of doors, and like Coach said, it's a gold mine that's not necessarily waiting to be discovered, but just waiting to be just dug into a little bit more. That everybody knows about. Like you say, you can go all over the city, all over the state, and somebody can say, well, I know such and such went there. I had an uncle, cousin, grandma, auntie that went to school there, but they haven't been there. But you got to, like say, re-tap into the people that have a loose affiliation with the university to try to get that affiliation tighter. But,
yes,
you know, at the end of the day, I think Coach going to do a good job up there, and I think the university itself and the Panther fans are going to try, but they have to try without expecting something in return besides wins. That's all. Don't expect a direct gift, like say a scholarship for your cousin, nephew, because that's a lot of times you find out why such and such don't like this coach, or is because coach didn't recruit somebody that they wanted to recruit. You know, it's different things like that behind the scenes that they really mad about, and it's not the wins and losses. They didn't get something, and they call themselves trying to help coach, but they had ulterior motives in their help.
Right. And like you say, what you're gonna do it from the heart, and let the dust settle where it's going to settle. If I give you something, it's up to you to do what you want to do it, because I gave it to you. I don't own it anymore.
Yes.
So it's yours to operate. And if you want to do it that way, then guess what? Either I keep going or I stop doing it, but I'm not going to tell you how to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's, look, Coach, we didn't ran over time, man. You good night. But it was good. It's always good dialogue, man. I'm excited about what's coming down the road. Got a lot of things to unfold. Basketball season getting started, but more importantly for me, baseball season right around the corner. I can't wait for all that to happen. With all that being said, I got to make sure you got Penn State and Ohio State, and you didn't say who was going to win in that Big Ten championship, but I'm going to put you on the line. Who you got?
I'm gonna say Penn State gonna win that one. Ohio State gonna beat Texas, and Ohio State gonna win it all.
Okay. With that being said, you got some closing thoughts or comments for us, sir?
Hey, you talking about getting ready for baseball, so you know that's Adam's deal. So within the next couple of weeks, he's already, you know, started since they lost in football, been doing, but school is back open, so he's really getting on the grind. He works out with Coach Cullivan every now and then, who's the former baseball coach at Prairie View. And from my understanding, he is supposed to go work out at both Prairie View and Southern within the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll see if somebody going to, at a minimum, maybe say.
Oh, here we go. We're going to be pulling at each other again, huh?
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. But, you know, and like I say, I don't like say throw my name around. I just say, look, man, I know that kid can play baseball somewhere if he wants to. So, like I say, I don't force him on it, but I look at it from a skill set, and I take, you know, like I say, man, I have coached, so I know what certain things look like, and I tell him, like, man, I don't think you should. I think he could play college football. I think you ought to invest your time in baseball, since that's when he's playing baseball good, Mike. That's what he loves, and you can tell the difference when he walks in the door between baseball and football.
Okay, well, we're gonna see what the end's gonna be. If I got a pick right now, I already know where you got it. He's gonna be leaning. I know you say you're gonna let him pick his own choice, but I got, and I can't blame you for that, Coach. I can't.
Hey, man, let me tell you something. The mamas and the aunties got a whole different lean than what Daddy got. Hey, man, they got a different way of putting pressure on kids. And not necessarily pressure, but getting their way. You know,
yes, sir.
Where you know if you go to such and such, you know they don't let freshmen have cars there. Or, you know if you go to such and such, you ain't gonna be able to come home for the fight you class to go. You know if you go to such and such, you know you're not gonna be able to come home for Thanksgiving. You know, just all them different nuggets that they drop in there. You know, if you go to school there, you can do the same thing here that you can do there. So it's a whole lot though.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the old gospel song, for the 9 months I carried you. No
yeah,
joy.
man, it's different. It's different.
Well, Coach, man, look, it's a good time, man. Senior year for your son. I know it's a proud papa moment for you. Some decisions coming down the road, and either way, man, we're gonna be monitoring, making sure that everything work out in that northern household. You and your pop find you some good hunting spots, man, and bring back some of that wild game.
We just found a new one actually Sunday. So and the good thing about it is very easy to get to, very easy to get in and out of. So I think we just found a new, almost perfect place for us. So you know, we'll have you some more deal sauce and burritos come this time next year.
Hey, that sounds like a plan, my man. He is our football guru, expert coach, Heist Northern. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, for another episode of After Further Review. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter, X, at the Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And check out our 24-hour stream at obnradio.com. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.